And welcome back, Rooster Boosters, to Rooster Booster Time. I'm the big guy, Scott Ferrara. That's Mike the Grand Poobah Perazzini. And we are here with you on another Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Gotta love it. We love doing this show. We love bringing you guys some interesting news and our thoughts about Rooney and everything. So we're very excited to have episode 2 of season 3 of Rooster Booster Time. Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Trying to stay, as warm as possible right now. Being, get some cold snaps here in, upstate New York, but doing pretty good other than that.
Sweet. Yeah, it wasn't too cold by me, to be quite honest. It was probably 32, 33, but here's the thing. The wind chill is killing me. It really is. It really is. The wind is taking it down to like 15 when you're outside. And it was friggin' terrible. But got a little bit of snow. I don't know if you guys got any snow up there.
Yep. Got a little bit of snow as well.
Nice. We most of our snow, unfortunately, then got hit with rain, so it became really friggin' heavy. That's the worst snow you can really have. And and as we know, that's one of the signature things about Rooney, right? Is shoveling their own pitch for spring training, as Mike was talking about it before, right, Mike? It's going to toughen us up and give us.
It's gonna. Yeah, it's gonna be great. One of the good things about Rooney is the fact that we play in such a tundra, a frozen tundra. So these Northeast teams, I think, are going to have like an early advantage when it comes to these early games. I was telling Scott, I've been looking at other teams and their preseasons. Austin is down in Texas training. LA is out, playing in the sand and the surf. They got teams out there, lapping up, enjoying the sun and, getting ready for it. And they all look happy, as happy as you can be doing, physical activities and stuff like that. But still, when you're in the sun, it's not so bad. Here, guys are out in the snow, in the freezing cold. And now with the fact that the season, last year they pushed back the season a little bit. This year, it was moved back to its original time, where it originally was. This is just going to help us out, I think, in the long run. Practicing in this crap in, the freezing cold, it's going to play to our advantage once, teams have to come to play in New York. So it's going to be great. I like it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like we always try and do since last season, we're trying to push that attitude, that hardworking blue collar attitude. And guess what? If you live in a place where it snows, most people are going to have to take care of it themselves. So I think it's fits right in with what they're trying to build there at Rudy. And sorry, I'm just looking. I had a prep going, and then it didn't work out too well. But it is what it is. So let's talk about some player signings. The first player signing I want to talk about, obviously, I'm going to be talking about the big guys up front. And Nick Mayhew signs with New York now. He's out of Auckland, New Zealand, comes from a rugby family. His father, John, is a doctor, but he worked in the NRL with the New Zealand Warriors. And both his brothers, Mike and Richard, played in the Prem. Nick also played in the Prem. Him and all of his brothers were qualified to play for England, actually, as his father was born there, and Australia and New Zealand through his grandfather. I always find that interesting, those trees of where people, are qualified to play. But he played 4 years with the Harlequins in England. He was registered for the RFU Championship. Prior to that, he did this. He played with the London Scottish after his stint with the Quins. I think they said he had 20 appearances, and then he started playing in the Cup Series down in New Zealand, Mitre 10, or what was the prior iterations, ITM Cup, Bunnings, Mitre 10, that type of stuff. In 2020, he played Super Rugby with the Seawolves. So, I mean, this is a guy who's well-traveled as far as his rugby career. 33 years old. He's not, a spring chicken, but sometimes you don't want a spring chicken up front. You know what I mean? So I think he's one of the better signings Rooney had, considering we lost our buddy Samu to a great super rugby side in the Fijian Drua. So can't go wrong when these guys leave the MLR to go play somewhere else. You know what I mean, and play in the upper echelons of the game. But I like Nick Mayhew. I think it's a great signing, and I can't wait to see him on the pitch.
Yeah, definitely going to be a great addition. Like we said, our one of our great things that we've had has been our pack, and been able to do those nice driving mauls, those working those nice line outs, and our scrums have been incredibly strong. And so
Mhm.
he definitely will be a great addition to the team. And not a spring chicken, but he brings in all that knowledge that of all those years of playing international rugby, and so he'll bring that in, and it'll just help fuel Rooney.
Absolutely, absolutely. Who do you got? What kind of signings are you looking at? Who do you think
I
they
was
picked
looking
up?
at
That's
I don't think we talked about him. We talked about Jason Emery is
Mhm.
who I was
We
looking
haven't
at.
talked about Jason. No.
We haven't talked. He is kind of on the, I guess, kind of a spring chicken. Not really. He's a chicken, I guess. Not old, not young. 28 in the rugby world,
Mhm.
so he's younger than me. So, but I guess I'm old, an old boy in rugby now. So I'm still dealing with that. It's okay. But incredibly well traveled as well when it comes to rugby. Playing for the Highlanders. In New Zealand, playing for the Sunwolves in Japan, a New Zealand under 20 rugby player, a Maori All Black, can be a nice addition as a center, working off of Quinn. This is definitely someone that's going to be, he's definitely got the skills, the offloading capability, to just really be able to, create tries and create opportunities for us down the run.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you're right, and I think you've seen a style of play with Rooney, specifically with the backs, that they want to go to that almost seven style. What do we call the Southern Hemisphere style of fluid play, and that's a reason you'll notice that they're more 7 to 15 converts in the Southern Hemisphere than there are on the Northern Hemisphere, because it's just a different game professionally, at that point. But you see a lot of these converts coming and playing 15s, and you're seeing what they can do in the open field with the ball. Appy and Fossey being two of those guys. So adding more players like that, I think, is what you need, because again, as you build the fluidity, you could do more things. You don't have to just rely on the kicking game and territory when you don't have to. So why not have a multifaceted approach to attacking, which we have seen Rudy do in multiple matches this season. Speaking of backs, very excited. Ed Fido, um, 28-year-old, 6'2", 200-pound wing out of Samoa. He's played rugby in Samoa, New Zealand, Australia, France, England, and he's coming here to the States in 2022. He played for Provence in Pro D2 in France. He was a medical joker for the Bordeaux Beagles in the French top 14. He is has 14 tests caps rather against for Samoa, with 12, I think, tries. I think I'm trying to, sorry, the wording is a little weird here, but yeah, 12 tries in international tests. And he was with the Worcester Warriors for the last 2 years. So I mean, you're getting a guy coming right from the Premiership to play for Rudy, and it's funny. If you guys are going to check out my other show, I do the Rugby Rant on Thursday. It'll drop Thursday night. Holden Youngert, who's now a New England Free Jack, talked about how you're going from college to the draft to the MLR team to playing against somebody who is in the Premiership, and that's a guy Ed fits that mold, being in the Premiership for Worcester 2 years. So it's I'm glad to see that these guys are coming to the States to ply their trade and really bring the level of rugby up from to where it needs to be. And I think it's going to be honestly, I think it's going to be awesome. I'm very excited. And another sevens guy. He represented Samoa in the World Seven Series from 2015 to 2017. 46 appearances, scoring 21 tries, and then he went back to 15s. So I mean, this is a guy who, when he was a little younger, was motivated by the sevens, and then came on as a 15s player. And I think that's great to see because what in my opinion, it's kind of maturation in knowing like, hey, maybe my speed has gone down a little bit for sevens, but
Yeah.
I could translate those skills on teams at a high level professionally on 15. So I love seeing that.
Yeah, you definitely, as time has gone on, we're definitely seeing, those more and more of those sevens guys, switching over as they get
Mhm,
older, and it definitely, it converts well, especially if there's if they still have that, that little bit of speed, especially, they might not be sevens fast, but they could be
mhm.
15s fast, and there is
Absolutely.
definitely a difference between the two. And but yeah, that knowledge, that offloading capability, that that fluidity kind of works perfectly for what they want, and I think that's going to be you've seen that with Rooney definitely, and you've seen that you're going to see that more. I think with the MLR in general, you're seeing a lot more teams picking up these sevens guys that maybe they, guys with sevens backgrounds that know what they're doing
Mhm,
can add that that attacking power to an MLR side that maybe in the past didn't have that attacking power.
mhm. Absolutely. Who do you got next on your list?
I was going to bring it to a forward, so I was going to go Joe Basser. So
Oh,
I did
nice.
one forward, one back, go back, and now we're the forward Joe Basser. 22-year-old, 6'2", 230 back row player, holding both an Australian and a U.S. passport, born in Manhattan.
Key.
So yeah,
North American
key. That's a
slot. North
yeah,
American
that's a
slot.
North American slot. So that's a slot that that wouldn't be a foreign slot. That's it keeps us bringing these North American or U.S. players in. Played most of his rugby or all of his rugby in New Zealand, in Melbourne, University of Melbourne, Trinity College. Um, but coming back now to the US to to ply his trade. And so I think these guys like Joe that have those dual passports are definitely going to be key going forward for the development of the MLR as well as the development of USA Rugby. We're going to have to look at these guys. Everyone does it. Every other country does it, where they pick up guys that kind of they have both passports, or maybe they they have a residency requirement now, and so they play with that team.
Mhm.
If we want to continue to grow, we're going to have to look, internationally and say, all right, there's a guy that's playing, in New Zealand. He was just so happens he was born in the U.S., but doesn't really have roots here, but he's got he's technically a U.S. citizen. Let's pick him up. Let's try and bring him here. So I think looking around, New Zealand, South Africa, Australia, England, Ireland, looking around and doing that. I think so. That's going to be the key, and he's one of the first few guys, to do that. So it's going to be good to see him
Absolutely.
play.
And speaking of a guy who is going to be a foreign player spot, but if he stays with Rudy, might meet the residency requirement at some point. Will Tucker, New Zealand born, 23-year-old lock. I think by the time the season starts, he'll probably be turning 24. But 6'8", 245, that's one of the biggest things in a lock. You can't teach height. And I feel like sometimes on the US sides, where they're undermatched as far as height is concerned, because most American athletes that are that height are playing basketball or football. So you can't teach height. God can just give it to you. So it's good to see that we're getting that type of height to match guys like Charlie Hewitt and Nate Brakely and Nick Savetta. It's funny when you see Charlie Hewitt. I think Charlie's 6'9", and I think Nick is 6'7", and that 2 inch difference is a big difference, especially when I'm looking up like this at him and you're like, oh, Charlie's actually taller than him.
Yeah,
It's interesting. But going back to Will Tucker, he represented the New Zealand under 20s at the 2018 World Rugby Junior World Championships. Between 2018 and 2019, he played Meyer Cup for Canterbury, and then 20 to 21 for Otago. Um, he was also selected for the Highlanders tour of South Africa and Argentina, as well as playing club rugby with Christchurch RFC. This is a guy who comes from a rugby family again. His brothers play, uh, Mitre 10. His one brother, James, played for the Chiefs in Super Rugby. So, I mean, you're talking about professional rugby families now, guys from those type of families coming over and wanting to play in the MLR. I think it's a big step. So, what about your last signing, Mike?
last signing, Kalolo Tulamoa.
Mhm.
Yeah, Moa. Yeah, that's how you pronounce it. New Zealand born rugby player, tight head prop, another prop, another one of
Mhm.
those workers. Played for Highlanders, played in New Zealand, but in 2020 played for the Utah Warriors. So is familiar with
Mhm.
Major League Rugby. Um, he's a though he was born in New Zealand, he has 4 appearances for Samoa. So on the Samoa national team, this is I think going to be a great pickup. It's another one of those uh, workhorse kind of rugby players that we need up front. We definitely packed that front row and that
Yeah,
that tight five with some great rugby players. And we made sure that we definitely got the rotation in. So it's going to be great to be able to see him play rugby for Bruni this year.
absolutely. Zach Tuolafo is going to be happy with all the Usos we have
Yep.
coming up to play with him. And I think again, a guy who's been around the MLR, um, kicked our butt last year when we played Utah at home. Sharing the front row with guys like Paul Mullen. So I mean, it's we're coming in and getting a seasoned guy at his position. He'll probably stick with hooking, and I think Wilton will stay more with the propping, in my opinion. And then you also have Caleb Geiger, who's on the team, who came from the American Raptors last year. I think we mentioned it. I've probably mentioned it a bunch of times. Caleb is one of those guys that played D2 football, learning the game of rugby. And this will be a great experience behind the Butcher, behind Wilton, behind Malolo and all that. So I think we're set for the number 2 position. I think we're set in our big spine positions as far as hookers, 8-man, all the way through. So I'm very excited about that. So let's talk about the schedule a little bit. So bye week 1, which me and Mike always hate. I mean, we're disgusted with the bye week, unfortunately. There's nothing we can really do, but it is what it is. So we'll deal with it. We're just kind of resigned to the fact that we're probably always going to have a bye week 1. Um,
Yeah.
the next 3 weeks are all away, which again is something we're kind of resigned to, even though we're not happy about it. I mean, well, I'm probably less happy about it than Mike because I always feel like, listen, we're in New York for a reason. Let's play. It was funny when they had the Randall's Island Sevens and everybody was complaining about the weather except for the New Yorkers who were there. But even then, some of the New Yorkers were bitching about the wind. But I mean, that's the whole point. This is use it to our advantage.
Yep.
And that brings us to our first home game, which is against the Flapjacks on March 6th, which is actually a week before we normally, the past 4 years or 3 years, have started. We usually started as close to St. Patty's Day as possible, which would have been the 13th, but it's been pushed up to March 6th. Excuse me. Our first of 3, I believe, right? We have 3 matches against the Free Jacks. And talking about those Free Jack matches, I'm upset that we play 2 homes and then an away. It should be a home, an away, and then a home, in my opinion. But I don't make the schedule. I could just bitch about it. And then going into the week after that, we're going to play a hot Legion team that's going to have a full complement of guys uninjured. So I mean,
Possibly. We
Sabercats,
don't know
yeah.
that.
Well, yeah, Sabercats, Atlanta, Dallas, Free Jacks, and San Diego. So we're just to talk about the first 5 matches. A brand new Cats team scares me, because we don't know what's going on with them. Atlanta is the same old team with the same identity. They've gained players, they've lost players, but I think what they're going to do as far as a game plan. So I in my head, you'll be more comfortable scheming that game. Obviously, we need to execute to win the game, but I feel like the preparation will be a little bit easier, in my opinion. Then you're playing a new Dallas Jackals team again. That in my head goes on the same thing as the Sabercats being a new, even though the Sabercats aren't a new organization, but having all those new people in the organization doing rugby a different way kind of scares me. And then the Free Jacks, it seems as though we never play the Free Jacks as hard as we want to. I don't know why. Right now they're we're 1-2 against them, and we really need to even out those odds. Especially if they're going to steal our mottos and all that other stuff that they do. We really need to even up that score. And then San Diego does scare me because they should have a full complement of players, and I think they're going to want to prove something after a lackluster 2021.
Yeah. I think every team improved
Mm-hmm.
themselves in this offseason. There's not, everyone went out and made some great signings. Like I said, we have a first week bye, which that can help us, that can hurt us. We'll be able to see what how other teams are playing. We'll get that first that first look kind of. Uh, it just sucks because you want to play that first week. I want to watch. I'm still going to watch games, but it's not going to be the same because I won't be able to watch Rooney play. But that Houston Sabercats side, they're coming out with vengeance. They made a lot of good signings. Rugby ATL, they got stuff to prove. They beat us, barely. We beat them twice in the regular season, and they beat us in the playoffs where it mattered. So they got they want to go out there and prove that they can still beat us. Dallas Jackals, new boys into the game. We'll see how they do. It could be they could still be finding their groove or what have you. And then a New England and a San Diego Legion that still that like to beat us and like to prove that they can still beat us. And as you said, 3 away games, both in southern climates, not bad. But the point of playing in New York is the fact that you're playing in New York. You want to be able to use that that cold to your advantage. I will say March 6th will probably still be cold.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I wish that we were playing a Southern team. I wish that we were playing NOLA at home on March 6th, something like that. Of our first 3 home games, because I'm passing a little bit further. First 3 home games, 2 of them are against cold weather teams. You got New England, San Diego, not a cold weather team, warm weather team, but then you've got Toronto 2 weeks later against that's another cold weather team. So you're kind of blowing away your cold weather advantage, and it's a wash between them. But yeah, it will be very interesting to see how all these teams match up and these teams play.
It was funny. I was just gonna tell Doug. As Doug mentions on screen, you can watch catch a glimpse of Sabercats versus Dallas on Saturday. It's going to be in Houston. AGs are going to host Rooney on the 29th. The match between Houston and New Orleans has been canceled due to visa issues. Apparently, visa issues, COVID issues, travel issues. It's big, from what I'm hearing, it's a conglomerate of different things. I probably has to do with vaccine mandates. Not to get political on the show, but countries outside of the United States, some of them have had hard times getting vaccines. So I wonder if they're having issues with some of their players coming in not getting vaccinated and having to wait the 2 weeks before they're considered vaccinated, and that's throwing off their preseason schedule. So I wonder what kind of Houston Sabercat team we're going to get the first week. I guess we'll see. Here's another thing that concerns me: the last 3 matches of the season. Atlanta at home, away at Old Glory, and away at Free Jacks. And as well as I do, the last 3 weeks always come. We're figuring out the playoffs there. By the time May 22nd comes around, the Eastern Conference is going to be so tight. We're going to be talking about bonus points. We're going to be talking about point standings. And I would rather, again, another one where maybe it was flipped 2-1, or one a home, away, and a home. But I do think that puts us at a disadvantage when it comes to the end of the season. A couple good spots. We're out in LA Sunday, April 10th, and then a bye week before we're back home against New England. So that's really, I think, a good trip because we're home and then we're going out to LA, and then we have a bye week to kind of catch our breath. And then we're playing New Orleans in March, which, as everybody knows, is still going to be hot, but it's not going to be as hot as playing them away in the middle of the season. Our biggest away being at Toronto May 8th. So again, I don't think we're going to have issues with the climate in Toronto on May 8th. Although who knows, there could be a freak snowstorm.
True. Yeah. It seems like they've scheduled games so that climate doesn't play as much of a factor, that the warm weather teams are able to play those early games in the warm weather. And it seems like they've shifted around so that, those really warm games are, not really happening. Makes sense too, because you want to attract fans. If it's too hot or too cold, people don't want to come out to watch games to play. So, it works out, but we'll see how it all, it works out in our favor.
Absolutely. And I can't wait for our first home match. I got my season tickets. You guys' season tickets are available. I think they're on sale at like 35% off. I think you get the 8 matches for middle section stands, I think, for like $140, which is the lowest price I've ever seen them for Rooney. at this point. So please get your season tickets. I want to see you there. I'm sure me and Mike will still be doing pregame shows. I hope. He has his little when he shows up to matches, he has his little setup, and we try and stand on two ends of the pitch to get some good video. It's been working out well. The big guy has some new AirPods that hopefully will work instead of the stupid string he's usually on. Just got to bust my own chops there. But yeah, so that's the schedule. The last match is Friday, June 3rd against Free Jacks away. And then we go into, remember, we have 3 rounds of the season of playoffs this year. The top 3 teams in each conference make it. The number 1 team gets a bye. Second and third play each other. And whoever wins that plays for the semifinal. And then whoever wins that goes on to the final. For each conference. It's going to be exciting. I'm starting to get pumped, Mikey. I'm starting to get pumped. So talking about that, this week's big news was Kitmas. The kits came out last week essentially, but in between our last show. I want to talk about the Rooney kits. I personally enjoy them. I think they're clean and they have just enough flair with the Statue of Liberty silhouette and just the kind of the top of the crown, not the whole Statue of Liberty, that I like them. What I really like is the alternative kits, the all black neighborhoods kit.
Jersey.
Yeah. So the orange jersey, the orange kit behind me is one of last year's neighborhood jerseys. And then they also had the blue on blue neighborhood jersey, which was supposed to be a training kit last year. And I think ended up being they just decided to go with it as a regular kit, which had a couple more neighborhoods on it. And then now they bring on a black on black neighborhood kit, almost Brooklyn Net-esque, which I like. And then also they have what's the other one called? The Heritage kit.
Jersey.
Yeah, for the New York Nomads from the 20s and 30s, with the collar, and it's really, old style hoops, and it really looks cool. Those are 2 I'm going to have to get. I think I'm going to have to not get the regular season kits, believe it or not, this year, and go with those. I just can't. I hope my wife's not listening.
Yeah, I was gonna say I really liked the Statue of Liberty design on the jerseys. It seemed like the teams this year were going with kind of like opposites. So I think it was Austin who had like orange and white, and then white and orange. Ours was kind of the same, blue, and then it still has the same Statue of Liberty kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I like them. I don't love them. I like them. I love the Heritage jersey, but I am a rugby jersey.
Collars.
Yeah, I'm a rugby jersey purist. I love collars. I love a jersey with a collar, and I love the hoops. I think they look great. I think that's that's what a rugby jersey kind of looks like. That being said, I like the the Statue of Liberty kind of design on it. I think it's very New York.
Yeah.
And so it fits well with the team. I was telling you before, I'm gonna say my weekly conspiracy theory. This year it seems like a lot of teams went with white jerseys for their away jerseys. And there were a lot more did a white away jerseys, some white home jerseys. I have a conspiracy theory that MLR owns stock in Clorox.
They're waiting for the price to rise.
They're waiting for the price to rise when everyone needs to clean their white jersey, because I think I've mentioned it before. I personally don't like a white jersey. It's just so dirty. It gets so dirty and so hard to clean, especially if you play rugby in it. And it never gets to that that white ever again. And so I'm assuming that the MLR owns stock in Clorox, so that when you get your jersey dirty, your white jersey dirty, they get money, a nice little kickback for all the bleach you have to buy to make sure that it gets somewhat clean.
You heard it here first. MLR, George Killebrew have bought a ton of stock in bleach. That is a conspiracy theory. We'll have to have Greg Ridelli on and my cell phone to go over to give a little analysis on the markets on how well that strategy is going to do. But before we go, please rate, review, and subscribe on YouTube and iTunes. Follow us on all social media at RNY Fans. Come say hi at the Facebook group. And what the other thing I'm going to need, I'm doing signage for the stands again. Some of you have probably seen my Rooney Local 23 poster with the Rooster Boosters, and then What was the other one? The Butcher's Block, serving tries one mall at a time with Dylan's nice face on it. I want some more ideas for some of these other players here to do a couple more and kind of have sections of fans, cheering on specific players. That's my idea for the upcoming season. So please, if you have something that's funny, I had one for Nate Brakely, but I wasn't too sure. It was going to be, Nate's mechanic shop, and it's going to say he will beat the brakes off you. You know what I mean? But I thought that was a little too corny. So if you guys can help me out with some ideas, that would be great. I appreciate it. But next week we're going to try and have some players on. I know it was a little tight this week because of the weather, so we couldn't get anybody on. But hopefully we'll have a player on just to talk about their experience here, if it's a new player or what made these players, re-sign with Rooney. Guys, we'll see you next week. I'm Scott, the big guy Ferrara. That's Mike, the Grand Poobah Perazzini. And thanks for watching. Talk to you guys later.